Hello everyone, welcome back to Shenzhen I. Okay, so last time we had just looked at this newsletter mail about saying stuff better and hella cash. And now it's time to work on this rubbish audio thing. So, I have to admit that audio is not my background. In contrast to a lot of people who were interested in electronics, as kids, I never really had a lot of interest in sound systems. I know some people get really crazy about speakers and audio, whatever. It's not really my thing. I'm pretty happy with a simple pair of headphones, and I don't really need much more than that. But anyway, so I don't have much background in audio, but let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. Um, I think this is partly parodying. What do they call it? I forget the. Is it? It's something like dynamic range compression. Hold on. Let me quickly. Let me pop open Wikipedia and just take a look because I know it's kind of a tangent and not really that relevant to the video, but just so that I get the right term for anybody who's curious, anybody who wants to look it up and see what it's about. I think this is sort of a parody or sort of a commentary on. Yeah, exactly. Dynamic range compression. It's basically a it's like a audio. It's like a post-processing sort of audio thing, an audio filter which tries to create a uniform volume level. So usually pieces of music will have loud parts and soft parts. Dynamic range compression tries to sort of compress that range so that there's not a big range between the highs and the lows. The loud parts are not much louder than the quieter parts. There are various reasons for that, like marketing reasons and other reasons why people do that, but I'm not going to go off on a big tangent about that here. That's like the only thing I know about audio because it's been a hugely controversial sort of thing in the last 20 years or so, with a lot of CDs sort of taking part in a so-called loudness war. So this, I think, is a commentary on some of the crap things that people do with audio to try to pretend to make it sound better. So the way that this works, well, what you really need to do is, see here it says look in the supplemental data section of the manual to find an ad featuring the harmonic maximization algorithm. Let me go back to the main menu for a second. I need to open up the PDF manual for the game. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see it, but for this particular puzzle, it's really just like one line. Let me see, where is it here? There we go. Yeah, so there's basically an ad for something this company. Oh, the company calls itself the Sunnyvale Institute for Audio Engineering. I guess that's Sunnyvale, California, which of course is in the middle of Silicon Valley. But they have some goofy thing they call harmonic maximization, and it's just based on a formula. There's a simple formula. Actually, can I copy and paste out of this PDF? Let me see. Can I copy and paste this right into the game? Let me try. That would be useful. Let me take this note down here. Can I? No, it does not seem to. Let me try again. Can I just do copy and paste? No, I cannot. It doesn't paste from external programs, I guess. Okay. Well, anyway, I'll just go ahead and write down the formula then. So basically, the formula from the file is audio out equals audio in minus 50. So in parentheses, audio. What, this doesn't do word wrap? Apparently it does not. Okay. Audio in minus 50, close parentheses, times 4 plus 50. That's it. That's your algorithm. So basically what it does, it cuts down the audio to half of its input level, then it multiplies the result by 4 and then adds 50 back to that. So the subtraction and the addition are supposed to cancel each other out, but while the audio is kind of minimized, it then multiplies that minimized audio by 4. In my head, when I imagine this, I feel like this is a form of dynamic range compression, but Actually, I might be wrong because just looking at this now, just comparing the inputs and the outputs here, you can see it's actually the opposite of what I described. So remember I said dynamic range compression is like, it basically flattens the peaks. Hey, it flattens the curve. There's a timely phrase. But yeah, it flattens the peaks so that you don't have any huge spikes in the audio. But this looks to be doing exactly the opposite because the input is relatively flat, but then the output gets these weird sort of sudden jumps in it. Like here, this jump here is magnified enormously. So maybe it's the opposite of dynamic range compression, which looks like it also would sound pretty terrible. It looks like it would actually come close to saturating the amplifier, which sounds like, really sounds terrible. If you've ever heard, you've probably heard at some point in your life audio produced by an amplifier that clips because the input drives the amplifier to its rails, and that just sounds horrible. There's that distinct clipping sound that starts to happen, and it sounds absolutely horrible. So this probably leads to something like that, which is why Carl doesn't like it. I mean, again, I don't know much about audio, but I'm inclined to agree with Carl. This is probably quite a rubbish audio thing. But this is our formula. This is what we're supposed to do. Our objective in this game is not to be moralists or to be ethically the most ethical electronics producer around. We're just following instructions, right? That's what they all say. So when the maximize input is off, then we do nothing. We just reproduce the audio. So basically, output equals input. But as soon as maximize goes, as soon as it turns on, then we start doing this algorithm here. So once again, I'm gonna take a big chip because it has more code in it, and I tend to be a little sloppy with my code and use a couple more lines of code than is really necessary. So let's go ahead and get started. I guess a logical first thing to do, oh, actually, you know what? I am going to need 2 chips because we have, these are all simple, yeah. These 3 connections are all simple inputs and outputs, but again, this chip and this one as well, the small one and the big one both have only 2 simple pins, so I will need 2 chips in any case. Okay, so how do we want to... I don't know. Let's... Okay, let's just go ahead and... Sure, let's go ahead and do this. So maximize goes there, audio in goes there. And what I'll need to do, okay, I'll worry about the output later. Okay, so I guess the easiest part is to just say if maximize is low, so if maximize goes to P1, so if P1, wait, what am I doing? Have I already forgotten how this game works? There's no if instruction. Yeah, there's no if instruction in this game, it's TEQ. TEQ P1 0. Test if the maximize input is off. And plus, if so, then move P0 to... I'm going to need to choose a pin. Let's move it... Okay, you know what? Let's do this. I'll move to X3. Move P0 to X3. Otherwise... Otherwise... Just trying to think how I'm going to do that. Okay, so if P1 is not 0, then obviously it's on. So then what we need to do is, I guess, yeah, move... Okay, so audio in, move P0 into the accumulator, because we need to do some math. Remember, we need to use the accumulator register to do some mathematics. So move P0 into the accumulator, and then I guess we can just say ACC... Wait, no, it's sub for subtraction. Sub 50 to subtract 50 from the accumulator, multiply by 4, and add 50. And then move the accumulator to X3, and then sleep 1. Okay, you know what I need to do? I need to put minus signs in all of these, because all of these are things that it should only do if that TEQ instruction fails, or not fails, but does not equal, does not match. And then I'm using X3 here, so I'll feed that into X0 of this chip, And then what we end up doing is just saying move x3 to, what's this been here? This is P1, isn't it? That's P0, so this would be P1. Yeah, move x3 to P1, and then sleep 1. Is that it? I feel like it might be 2. Oh, wait, not x3. On this chip, it's x0. x3 on this chip goes to x0 on that chip. Is it really that simple? Let's try it. It looks like it was really that simple. Okay, that was not, gosh, I was expecting that to be a little harder somehow. I mean, the equation's pretty simple, but for some, well, okay, I'm not complaining. It works. And obviously I could have, yeah, I could have saved 2 yen if I had gone with a smaller chip. You know, it really doesn't matter, but just to be picky, let's go ahead and do that. So we have this chip here, and then we have this here, and stick the code in there. So obviously X3 doesn't exist on this chip, it's X1, so I'll change these two to X1. And yeah, P1 is still the maximized input, and P0 is still the audio in. So this should still work. Should be the same thing. And we'll save the $2 on that chip. I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, who cares? 2 yen. But I mean, or not yen. We just had in the last video we had an email about how to pronounce it. It's not yen. It's yuan. Yuan. Okay, so my power usage is actually a little below the spike here, but my lines of code are. Oh, apparently I could have or should have saved a line of code somewhere. Where could I have saved some code? I do not know. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. Let's not fuss over it. Let's just get out of here. So, Joe, the marketing guy, says this thing is awesome. I took one of these babies up to my stereo at home and it blew the speakers clear off. Does the job, no question, amazing. I must confess that I'm a little bit annoyed by people like this who just think that audio quality equates to loud volume. There's a certain artlessness to well, okay, let's not get too negative. Let's just move on. Self-driving car stuck in a loop. You may be entitled to a settlement. Okay, so this is from some law office. This is from a legal company, a lawyer's office. Telling people that they can sue if their self-driving car has malfunctioned in the way described in the email. Okay, I don't think this applies to me. I don't think we have a self-driving car here in Shenzhen, or maybe we do. I don't know. Our character is kind of anonymous. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, so this is about an infrared sensor. Important. So Lily is in the process of setting up closer tie-ups with top global firms, and she's working to ensure or to secure higher profile work for our company. Okay, that's good news. The company's growing. First result is a contract to get rid of infrared sensors. I was implementing the board more for passive monitoring stations to detect illegal activities, illegal carbon emissions, illegal growing operations, illegal immigration. If it's against the law and it generates heat, we'll detect it. Well, most illegal activities probably generate some kind of heat, but then again, most legal activities do as well. So I guess you can just detect everything. Hey, let's just make a sensor that detects everything. Easy, right? Okay, so what do we have here? Hold on, let's take a look at what do we have here? Okay, so this thing here is, what is that, a battery? No, that's not what I wanted. What does this do? There's this little, looks almost like an undo symbol, but I don't know what's up with that. I also don't know, is this pin completely unconnected? Sometimes you have devices with unconnected pins that are just there for no reason. It looks like only this pin does something. But what is this? Is this a, I don't know. Oh, I guess it's this clock. Oh, RTC stands for real-time clock. Okay, so this is a clock providing the current time. I get it. Okay, and then what else do we have? We have here, okay, sensor and alarm. So sensor is a simple input, alarm is a simple output, it just starts the alarm, and then these two things here are the... Okay, I see. So the on time is when the device starts, and the off time is when the device becomes disarmed. So these are basically the times during which the device will sound an alarm if it detects something. Okay. So what do we need to do? I guess we need to I mean, I feel like we need to run the time from this into okay, pin type mismatch. Okay, that is clearly not what we're supposed to do. What about this? Well, now it doesn't complain about a pin type mismatch, but I don't. I'm just looking at the parts here. Is there a part that I need to use with this? You know what? I don't know how to use this, I have to admit. Let me check the manual. I know I've done this puzzle before, but I seem to have forgotten how it works. So let me quickly check the manual. Does the manual say anything about this part? Yes, it does. This is the Denver Timekeeping DT2415 incremental clock. Emits a simple I/O signal that corresponds to the number of 15-minute increments since midnight. Includes a built-in backup battery so the time is kept even when power is not available. Okay, so basically, as I said, this pin is not connected. So this pin is useless. This is also technically a pin here. This is the casing of the thing, which is used for grounding. And it's huge because sometimes these things generate a lot of heat, and so that can also be used for heat dissipation. But both this and this are unconnected. Only this is actually good for anything. Only that pin actually does something. Oh, and it's a simple I/O pin. I get it. Okay, so it's a simple... so what we'll need to do probably is, let me guess, do something like this. There we go. Okay, so it's... yeah, so it complains about a mismatch if you hook it up to an X bus thing. So I'll need to put this onto a simple input, and then these two timekeepers here marked with the little yellow notches indicate they're X bus devices. So these are X bus devices. Okay, so what do we need to do here? Let me get a microprocessor out because obviously we'll need something like that. So, I guess, fundamentally, get these out of the way for a second. I mean, I guess the best thing to do, because this will need to somehow connect to, hold on, let me get this out of here as well. So, I guess what I can do is... Okay. All right. We've got a simple input here, simple input here. So what I can do is then put this here and this here. Rig them up like that. Does that work? I really don't know how these things work. I guess these things are... Actually, these are outputs, aren't... Are these... I don't know if these inputs here are good for anything. Like, how do these devices actually work? I'm going to assume that these output the time, which would then suggest to me... Let me move all this stuff over a bit. This is one of the frustrating things about this game. Sometimes it's not clear how the parts actually work. Is there anything in the manual about these timer devices? Hold on, let me just quickly check. I don't remember seeing anything like those in the manual. Maybe I missed them. I don't think so. I really do like the music in this game. The music is kind of like a faithful friend. You know, it's like when you have a quiet moment when you're deep in thought, the music is just kind of there, unobtrusively in the background, keeping you company, but not distracting you from your deep thoughts. Okay, so I'm gonna guess that actually these are supposed to be feeding into the microchip and not vice versa. So, actually, let me just test that. What if I just say, hold on, what pin is this? X0. If I say move X0 to accumulator and just start running, what happens? it actually does get 93 from this, so you don't need to feed anything into these timers. They just work. They just output the time that's shown there. Okay, so that's fine. So what we need to do is basically say, right, okay. Whenever the device is armed and the sensor reads at or above a value of 20, the alarm output should be active. So we have two conditions here. I'm going to write a pseudocode. Sometimes when people write programs, they first write pseudocode, which is kind of like a non-technical way of writing code just to sort of draw the skeleton of the program structure. So if P1 is the time, so P1 will need to be, okay, I see. So if P1 is greater than, this was x0, so if P1 is greater than x0 and P1 is less than x1 and P0 is greater than 20, then, I'm going to need to, once again, I'll need to have another chip here because I don't have enough simple input. So this will need to go to that. That'll need to connect like that. Okay, then x3 equals 100, else x3 equals 0. So this is basically what we want to do. The conditions for x3 being on, turning on the alarm, are first, P0 needs to be greater than 20 because sensor needs to be at or above, oh, actually it's at or above 20. So technically it needs to be greater than 19 because 20 is greater than 19, but it needs to trigger already at 20. So if P0 is higher than 19, then the sensor is activating this alarm. And then if P1, which is the time, is higher than the on time, meaning after the on time but before the off time, then it's not going to work very well though, is it? Because problem is here that the on time is actually greater than the off time, because what happens here is it resets. It looks like it resets at 95. Oh boy. So it's not just that the time has to be between these values, or well, it's not just that it has to be greater than this value and less than this value. It actually has to be between them. So you can't just say greater than this. It has to be. Boy, how would you do that? Because I mean, I guess what you could say is just have it trigger on the on time. You know what? That's what you need to do. Not say greater than this or less than that, but say trigger on that. As soon as the time hits 93, then say on. And then when the time is 38, if time equals 38, then off. Okay, I see. So we need to, so it basically becomes kind of like a state machine. It has an on state and an off state. Where are we going to store that? We'll probably need to store that in the data register. So this bigger chip has two registers. The small chip only has the accumulator register, which is, again, used as a kind of a temporary storing cell for math. But this has an additional data register. So what I'll probably do is use this to store whether the alarm is armed or not. So what we have here then is, I'm gonna write something different. If P1 equals x0, again, this was x0, right? Yeah. If P1 equals x0, DAT equals 0. If P1 equals x1, DAT, oh, I got that backwards. So If P1, if the time equals the on time, then DAT equals 1, data equals 1, so that stores that the chip or that the alarm is armed, it's on. If the time is x1, the off time, data equals 0, that means the alarm is disarmed. Okay, how am I going to transform that into actual code now? So basically, TEQ P1 x0. Check if P1 equals x0. Okay, and then just do a plus sign. So plus DAT equals 1. Oh, you can't do DAT equals... Oh, it's move 1 DAT, right? I think that's the trick here. Yeah, move 1 into DAT. Yeah, so, and then test if equal P1 x1. Does P1 equal x1? If so, then move 0 into DAT. There we go. That's a reasonable start, I guess. Let me get rid of this. I don't think you can comment out. Can you comment out code in this game? I don't think you can. It's not. Yeah, it doesn't. In real-life assembly language, you can just put a semicolon typically before a line, and that'll just prevent it from having any effect, but you cannot do that here. Okay, let me just quickly run this and just make sure that it actually arms and disarms as expected. So, oh, I forgot to sleep. Sleep 1. Okay. Now will you work? Thank you. Okay. So I'm just watching for when data becomes 1. So data becomes 1. It should become 1 when this hits 93. 88, 89. You can see the time here. So you can see the time coming out of the clock here. Now it's 89. 90, 91, 92. And if all goes well, when I click once more, data should become 1. It did not. Oh, probably because it needs to... Okay, there we go. It needs to go through that little loop, but after that, that's fine. Okay. And then if we keep advancing, then data should go to 0 when the time hits 38. So it is 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. And now on this run, data should go to 0. Yes, it does. Okay. Straightforward enough. So that... Okay, so that checks these two things and makes sure that data accurately reflects whether the alarm is armed or disarmed. Now, the question is, what next? So we have two conditions now. We've dealt with these two things here, and now we have basically two conditions. If data is 1, and if P0 is greater than 19, then output 100 here. Otherwise, output is 0 here. So, okay, so we'll need to do two tests here, I guess. So first, let's say test if greater than, not TEQ, but test if greater than, how does it work? P0, 20? Is that right? I don't know. We'll see. And then I guess we need to somehow... we need to skip ahead. We need to say if it's not greater than 20, then jump to ender. And I'll create a label here called ender. Okay. And then... So at this point, if we're here at this point in the program, that means we're here because P0 is greater than 20. So now we need to say test if equal data 1. And if so, then move 100 to x3. So this should work. The only problem is I don't have something that sets it down to 0 after when these conditions are not met. Which is a bit problematic, but okay, let's see how this works. Okay, so from over here, I just need to say move x0 p1. Yeah. And then sleep 1. Okay, this should at least be good for something. What? Oh. Oh, I need it. So, something I don't think I mentioned. XBus is a blocking bus, which means that if something over here is listening, it's asking for an input from an XBus input, which in this case it is. It's asking for an input from X0. It will hang the entire program until something actually feeds it a value. This again kind of defies the laws of time and physics. In real life, you can't pause time in the world by not sending a value to a chip. If you have a chip and you don't send it a value, you can't magically stop time in the world. It doesn't work like that. But in the game, it works like that. So, hold on, how am I doing for, speaking of time, how am I doing for, okay, I'm just about at half an hour, but I think I'm getting close to a solution here. I just need to have a clause here that says, if these conditions are not met, then move 0 to x3. So, let's see. I mean, I guess a cheap way to do it is just to put it in twice. So if p0 is not greater than 20, then move 0 to x0 and jump to the end. Test if data is 1. If not, then again move 0 to x0. Wait, it's x3 here. Sorry, on this chip it's x3. And then jump to ender. This is a sloppy way of doing things. I feel like there's a better way of doing things, but my loop logic is not always the best. Okay, let's see. How does that work? Is that actually working? It looks like that is actually working. Okay. Bit of a sloppy solution, I think, but it works. I'm sure I could have done that better, but I'm not. It's not too bad. I don't feel too bad about it. Huh? What? Okay, why did it eat it here? Why did it all of a sudden glitch right here? What's the problem here? So this is 58, so that shouldn't have been a problem. And here this was 20. Oh, duh. I explicitly said that this needs to be 19. It needs to test if this is greater than 19, not greater than 20. And then what did I go ahead and do? I put in 20 instead of the requisite 19. Duh. That's why it suddenly just froze there, because it got an actual value of 20 and needed to trigger on 20, but it was checking if the input was greater than 20, and so it didn't trigger, because obviously 20 is not greater than 20. All right, there we go. So I'm pretty much in line with what other people were doing. Obviously, a lot of people figured out how to do it with like one less line of code, but I am not too worried about that. I mean, if I looked at this for a while, I'm sure I could figure out how to remove one line of code. I'm sure there are ways to make this more efficient, but I am not too much concerned about that. That was not a horrible design, I think. Not the best, but not horrible. Okay. So Lily is happy. She says, just let you know that your design for the infrared sensor component was well received by our partners and is set to be integrated into a number of products currently under development by various defense and security firms. Ooh, and Carl kind of perks up at that and says, hang on, we're becoming a defense supplier. I think I say perks up not in the sense that he's happy about it, but I think he probably perceives this a bit negatively that we're providing parts to weapons manufacturers. But that often happens when you are in this field, especially today. I remember when I used to live in Silicon Valley, I actually took a night class once in RF electronics engineering, and I was literally the only person. There were something like 20 people in the night class. I was literally the only person in the whole class who was not working for a weapons manufacturer. So, you know, most of the electronics work these days, at least outside of Asia, is working for defense companies. So it is kind of a fact of life. Some people don't like it, but such is the wicked world we live in. Okay, working remotely. Oh, another timely subject in these times of Corona. Well, I mean, working remotely has been a subject since several years now already, but now is obviously, especially in the times of Corona. So Lily will be working remotely today, maybe tomorrow, just in case you're looking for me in the office. That's weird if I get back from a trip yesterday. I'd have been stuck in a traffic jam on the way back from the airport since then. You've been in the same traffic jam for over 24 hours. When a city grows as fast as Shenzhen has, it's natural to expect there might be some strain. I'm fine, I have food and water in there. Maybe next time a virtual meeting is better. I don't know how true this is. I've never lived in Shenzhen. I've never even been to Shenzhen, so I don't know if people can actually be stuck in traffic for 24 hours. That seems like it might be a bit exaggerated to me, but what do I know? Maybe it really happens. Maybe this was again, they consulted with Bunny Huang when making this game, so maybe he said maybe they have 24-hour traffic jams in Shenzhen. Who knows? Okay, so our next project will be a virtual reality buzzer. I'm not going to read about this this whole thing here, but well, okay, I mean, teledildonics has been a thing for decades. I believe the word was first coined by Ted Nelson, who famously wrote Computer Lib, Dream Machines. But this is maybe a little bit more about David's personal life than I really wanted to experience on the job. Okay, I guess we'll take a look at this next time here on Shenzhen I. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will talk to you all later. Ta-ta for now.